Yes guys, I'm Brunette, welcome back to Blades Focus, and this is a Southampton vs Sheffield United preview and prediction. I believe you'll be seeing this on Tuesday night. The Blades tomorrow take the long trip to Southampton, and as always got my match preview where I cover form, the key players and who I think will start. And as well, at the end I'll predict what the scoreline will be. Just before we get into this video, if you're new around here and you enjoy this sort of content, leave this video a like, subscribe to the channel. I do match previews and match reactions every week as well as other miscellaneous stuff. So if that's the sort of content you want to see, press that subscribe button. Of course at the weekend, Blades lost 1-0 down to 9 men against Charlton, so we're looking to bounce back from that defeat. Of course, Tanganga and Soumare are suspended for 3 games. We tried to appeal Tanganga's red card, but it didn't work out, so it's a 3-match ban for him and Soumare. As I'm recording this on the Tuesday, there's no signings going into the Southampton game, so it will be quite a depleted squad. Moving on to the form now, starting with Southampton, they haven't won in the last 5. Of course, the most recent game was a 2-1 loss at home to Hull City. A couple of draws in there, but of course that big defeat to Middlesbrough, then that shock defeat to Oxford. They haven't won a game since the 9th of December. They've struggled a lot with the boss since he became permanent at Tonda Eckert. And with the way their form's going, I don't think it was too long until he's under pressure. Of course, for the Blades, 3 wins, 2 losses in the last 5, both losses have come away from home. And I think it's becoming a trend now because we're really strong at home. We've not lost since the 1st November in the league. Whereas if you look at the away form, of course, we've lost 3 of the last 4 games away from home. Like I mentioned, in them 3 games that was lost away from home, we've conceded after the 35th minute in all 3 of them. And away from home, there's definitely some sort of mentality problem just before and just after half time. Because I think out of any club in the division, we've conceded the most goals in that 45th to 60th minute period just isn't good enough. And at the moment, at home and away with 2 different teams. The player I've chosen to watch out for Southampton is Leo Scianza. I'm not great at pronouncing names, apologies if I've absolutely butchered it. He's been solid and dangerous for Southampton on that left-hand side predominantly. And I think even though Southampton have gone on this run where they've been quite apart, I think he's been a real bright spark. If you look at these stats here, he's in the 92nd percentile for chances created. And also if you look at successful crosses, he's in the 94th percentile for that one. In terms of dribbling, he's in 96% for successful dribbles. And I think the most incredible bit is the fouls one, which is 69, which is in the 100th percentile. Which means he's going to be very dangerous on that left-hand side, very hard to defend because he will draw that foul every so often. But I think the player that I've picked for Sheffield United to watch out for will counteract him well. And the player to watch out for Sheffield United is Sariki. This has sort of been his breakout season. He's been absolutely incredible on that right hand side. Of course, he plays predominantly as a right back on that right hand side with Brooks as the right mid, and the link up them to have on that right hand side is so phenomenal. Of course, this season he's got 1 goal, 4 assists, been absolutely phenomenal driving down that right hand side. If you look at chances created, which is 20, he's in the 75th percentile compared to other fullbacks. But it's his possession stats I want to take a look at in terms of successful dribbles in the 98th percentile. He's taken 45 touches in the opposition's box, which is in the 94th percentile. And if you take a look at tackles and duels in the 89% and 97% respectively. I think them stats definitely indicate he's a very well-rounded fullback. He's very solid defensively and can pose a threat going forward. I think the main job will be to keep Leo Scianza quiet, but also with the injuries and the suspensions that we got, we'll look to him to get some attacking threat. Onto the predicted lineup now, starting off in there, of course Michael Cooper will start. It doesn't look like we're going to sign a keeper in January, so hopefully Michael Cooper can stay solid until the summer. Of course he's carrying an injury, I'm not sure how severe it is, hopefully he can just pull through it until the summer and then maybe surgery or something. Because I'm sure the fans are desperate for him to get back to his best. Of course last season he was so phenomenal, but this season has been a dramatic change in him due to this injury. At right back, like I've been speaking about, I think Sariki will start. I'm not 100% sure that he will start because I think one of the games will start Hoover, but I think Sariki is a better option versus Southampton. Of course, I've just waxed lyrical about him. I could go on all day. He's just a brilliant player this season, and he's definitely been one of the biggest bright sparks in this season despite being quite poor. For right centre back, I've gone for Tyler Binden. There's not much choice with the defenders. Of course, with Tanganga suspended, he'll come back to his natural side, the right hand side. He did come off ill against Charlton. Hopefully he's fit back in time for this game, because if he isn't fit, then it's a very bleak centre half pairing. At left centre back, I've gone for Ben Mee. He will come in Tanganga's absence. Tyler Binden will step over to the right, and then Ben Mee will come in the left. Before Christmas, when he got his injury, he's absolutely brilliant, but then that Mansfield game was very, very shaky. And it does worry me a bit because obviously he wasn't very good in that Mansfield game at all. And I think he looked much better when he had Tanganga as a partner. Let's see what he's like with Binden. At left back, I think Harrison Burrows will start ahead of McCallum. I think McCallum's played a lot recently. He needs a bit of rest, resting for that Ipswich game on Saturday. So I think Burrows will come back into starting 11, a bit of a threat down the left-hand side. Of course, he's another player that's dropped off massively this season. He's looking to get his form back. And I think the main reason he's starting is just pure and simple rotation. At right midfield, I've gone for Andre Brooks. I think he'll keep his place in the team as usual with Sariki as the right back, because that right hand side of Sariki and Brooks is our biggest threat going forward at the moment. And I think in a game like this away from home where you're probably not going to dominate the ball, I think them 2 players are the sort of players you need to break defences down. Sidipe is the first midfielder in this team. I think it's very easy to pick because of the suspensions and injury. It probably is a bit too soon for Sidipe to be starting again, but we've got no choice really. Of course, with Soumare's suspension and Redival being injured, I think he's a natural replacement for one of them. Before he got injured, he was forming a brilliant partnership with Redival well in that midfield. And he was on some brilliant form before he got injured, so hopefully he can capture some of that again soon. For the other central midfield, I think it will be Arblaster. I don't think them two have played together in midfield before, so it will be interesting to see how that pans out. And with injuries and suspension, it's either them two or Matos. Of course, Harmer could play in that central position. I'm not sure he will or not. Or whether he'll start with Ito and then utilise Harmer as a wide player. So I think them two starting in midfield together will be the most likely option. I think Arblaster's been very patchy since returning from injury. He needs to get to full speed still. So I think it will be interesting to see how he fares alongside Pate in this game. On the left, as usual, will be Callum O'Hare. Of course, he's been such a brilliant player to how we've played this season. He's been just so phenomenal. He's not done too much for the last few games. Hopefully he can capture that form a bit again, coming into these next few games. And it's been such a joy to watch him this season. He's been so much better than last season. And hopefully he can carry on getting these goal involvements. The first striker that I've gone for is Tom Cannon. I think he will start again. I think he missed a couple of chances at Chart, but I think it will be harsh to drop him based on them. And he's been on some decent form recently, so I think there's a good chance to carry that on. He's looked very solid in a two-striker formation due to there being less workload and less pressure. So hopefully solid form can continue. And then up front, I think I'll give Bamford a rest and start Tyrese Campbell. Look, I think Bamford is on the better form at the moment. I think he needs a rest at some point, resting for the Ipswich game on Saturday. And Tyrese Campbell, despite not being in form, is a good replacement. He's looked quite lacklustre, quite lazy the last couple of months in this two-striker formation. But I don't think he's a bad player. I think he's just out of form at the moment. He needs something to click him back into form. And you never know, a game like this could be the perfect opportunity. Of course, Southampton aren't the bad side. They're just out of form at the moment. I think it will be a tough game. But I'm going to go 2-2, and I think the scores will be Cannon and O'Hare. And there we go, guys. That's my full match preview and prediction for the game against Southampton. As always, leave this video a like, go subscribe to my channel, go follow my socials, and let me know in the comments if you're going and what you think the score will be. And I'll see you guys in the next one.